Government buildings is as if someone wants to erase our...
Celebrating 25 years of BET.
These jokers started showing up. I was like, no, you were here first. You can have it.
These two people love each other. They found each other out of all these odds against them finding each other, they found each other, and the love that they have is really, really...
They said Meghan Markle was all about loyalty, truth, and standing up for what's right. But behind the glam, the speeches, and the perfectly curated image lies a cold, calculated pattern that's impossible to ignore. Because this isn't just about cutting ties with her father or walking away from royal duties. This is about how she discards people the moment they stop serving her narrative. And now, two of the most important names in her Hollywood inner circle, Jessica Mulroney and Tyler Perry, have landed on opposite sides of her loyalty radar, one exiled in silence for a social media misstep, the other protected in complete quiet despite being slapped with a $260 million lawsuit filled with graphic harassment claims. And while Meghan once screamed about justice, feminism, and believing survivors, she's now whisper quiet when the accused is her private jet-providing, LA mansion-lending billionaire friend. So what happened to the woman who claimed to speak for the voiceless? What happened to standing for victims even when it's messy? Because this story doesn't just expose Meghan's friendships. It exposes the rules of her entire world. If you're useful, you're protected. If not, you're...
Our African-American story is specific to a certain audience, specific to a certain group of people that I know that I grew up with, and we speak a language. Hollywood doesn't necessarily speak the language.
Erased. This story isn't about a single scandal. It's about a pattern, one that reveals how Meghan Markle treats relationships not as bonds, but as business moves, where connections are currency and loyalty is least, because the deeper you look, the more obvious it becomes that Meghan's world runs on strategy, not sincerity. And it's not just Jessica Mulroney or Tyler Perry. This pattern goes back years. From cutting off her father before the royal wedding to silencing staff who dared to speak up, to distancing herself from half-siblings, aides, and even old friends who helped her climb. And in every case, the same thing happens. Once their usefulness fades, so does Meghan's interest. And while she sells the image of empowerment and empathy, the evidence says otherwise, because behind every polished interview, every magazine spread, every speech about courage lies a trail of people.
And I've been with you all week, from Carrie's ceremony, last night premiere, and now this... In different fashion, every night. You too. And now this moment, who
were cast aside the moment their presence became inconvenient to the brand she's building. Jessica Mulroney wasn't some background friend Meghan grabbed brunch with once a month. She was the architect behind the image, the stylist who helped shape Meghan's public transformation from cable actress to royal icon, the woman who stood by her side in fittings, private prep sessions, red carpet rehearsals, and even had her own daughter walk alongside Princess Charlotte at the royal wedding. But all of that meant nothing the second Jessica became a PR liability, because one messy Instagram argument, one public backlash over race, and Meghan vanished. No statement, no defense, no clarification, just silence wrapped in flowers and distance. And while Jessica tried to stay graceful, posting birthday wishes and cryptic quotes about betrayal and friendship, the reality was devastating. Brands dropped her, her show disappeared, and her career crumbled overnight, not because she committed a crime, but because she was no longer politically convenient. And Meghan, the self-proclaimed champion of women, said absolutely nothing.
This sort of, even by Meghan's standard, this strange blizzard of activity on social media. Just every 3 seconds is something new, picture of her with a baby.
Not even a whisper of support, leaving Jessica to rebuild her life while pretending everything was fine as the world watched her fade from the spotlight. And while Jessica was tossed aside like last season's fashion, Tyler Perry, who quite literally saved Meghan and Harry from the fallout of their royal exit by offering them his sprawling LA mansion, his jet, his full security team, and probably the most elite access to Hollywood they could have ever dreamed of, has now been hit with a $260 million harassment lawsuit from former actor Derek Dixon, who worked under Perry's company and claims he endured repeated inappropriate behavior, crossed boundaries, and degrading comments that allegedly created a hostile and abusive work environment. And yet, Meghan Markle, who has built an entire public identity on being a voice for victims, an advocate for workplace rights, a symbol of standing up to toxic power, has suddenly gone completely silent. Not a word, not a post, not even a vague quote on Instagram about justice or support. And the contrast is blinding. Jessica got dropped for an Instagram scandal that wasn't even about Meghan, but Tyler, who's facing legal action over serious, disturbing claims, still gets full protection, full silence, full loyalty. And that's not coincidence, that's calculated. Because this isn't about right or wrong. It's about power, influence, and who still holds value in Meghan and Harry's carefully controlled orbit. Jessica Mulroney, once essential, became expendable the moment her controversy threatened Meghan's image. But Tyler Perry, despite being at the center of a public lawsuit involving graphic allegations and claims of inappropriate conduct toward a gay employee, remains untouchable because he's still useful, still connected, still a gateway to the elite world the Sussexes are desperately trying to dominate. And the most shocking part? These aren't baseless rumors. Derek Dixon has gone fully public, named names, filed paperwork, put everything on the record, and laid out a story that includes not just verbal misconduct, but the emotional manipulation of someone trying to build a career under the shadow of a man who controlled every opportunity. And yet Meghan, who had no problem calling out the British royal family on global platforms, has nothing to say about the man who gave her a mansion and a plane, proving that moral outrage from the Sussexes only seems to apply when it doesn't risk burning the wrong bridge. And if you think this is just about one lawsuit, think again, because Tyler Perry's name has long circled Hollywood rumor mills, especially around his private life, with whispers about his sexuality being casually dismissed or denied. But now those whispers are colliding with court documents, with Derek Dixon claiming he didn't even know Perry was interested in men when the alleged advances started. And the result was confusion, discomfort, and a blurred line between professional opportunity and personal exploitation. And Perry, who once joked publicly that if people thought he was gay they should send their girlfriends over, now finds himself in a real spotlight, not a movie set, but a legal one. And this moment is where Meghan Markle's silence screams the loudest, because she didn't hesitate to blow the whistle on royal racism or emotional trauma for a Netflix documentary. But when it's a billionaire Hollywood ally, someone she still needs, someone who still grants her access, suddenly the advocate vanishes, the victim's story gets ignored, and all that talk about truth and courage becomes nothing more than a carefully managed brand campaign. And what makes this even more disturbing is the double standard, because Meghan and Harry built their empire on accountability, demanding it from the royals, from the media, from their critics. But when it's someone in their own circle accused of serious misconduct, the rules suddenly change, the standards vanish, the moral compass malfunctions, because Jessica Mulroney was tossed aside for optics, for headlines, for a narrative that made Meghan look righteous. But Tyler Perry, who is facing a detailed lawsuit from an alleged victim willing to go on record and put everything on the line, is still wrapped in silence and shielded by their loyalty. And the message that sends is dangerous, because it tells the world that their so-called advocacy isn't about justice, it's about convenience, and the second your presence threatens their climb to the top, you're gone, no matter how long. You stood by them, no matter how much you sacrificed, and while the public might not notice right away, the people around them, former aides, friends, insiders, they see the pattern, and that's why they're leaking, that's why stories keep surfacing, because behind the glamour and glossy interviews is a cold, calculated PR machine where loyalty only runs one way. Even Meghan's own family has felt the blade of that selective loyalty. Her father cut off, her half-siblings exiled, palace staff who dared to challenge her quietly discredited or dismissed, and even her mother Doria, once hailed as her rock, reportedly pulled back after realizing that her role was being used more as a prop than a parent. And now Tyler Perry finds himself in a position that should demand clarity, because he didn't just offer them a place to stay, he provided their escape plan from royal life, their rebrand headquarters, their private jet to freedom. And if that kind of support doesn't earn at least a public acknowledgement or a principled stance when serious allegations emerge, then what does? Because Meghan and Harry aren't just silent. They're complicit in preserving power dynamics that they claim to fight against. and every moment they remain quiet, while Perry's accuser risks everything to be heard, only deepens the cracks in their public image, exposing the truth that behind every hand-picked friendship and every photo op lies one golden rule. If you're not valuable anymore, you disappear and no explanation will follow. And while Jessica quietly tries to piece her life back together, attending charity events, posting curated smiles, teasing a comeback in the reality TV space, while raising her kids away from the spotlight she was thrown out of, Meghan moves forward like nothing happened, still hailed by some as a symbol of strength and progress. But the truth is, those who once helped her rise are left in the rubble, discarded, erased, unmentioned. And now, with Tyler Perry under fire, the contrast is impossible to ignore. Because the Sussexes didn't hesitate to speak out when the cameras were rolling, when the targets were the royals, the tabloids, or anyone who couldn't fight back. But when it's someone they still need, someone with money, connections, political reach, and PR protection, suddenly they retreat into silence, hiding behind legal caution and media strategy, hoping the storm will pass without forcing their hand. But it's not passing, it's escalating, and the more they stay silent, the more obvious it becomes that their values are for sale, their morals negotiable, and their version of justice is selective, performative, and built entirely around self-preservation. So what does this all mean? It means the brand Meghan and Harry have built, the one wrapped in empowerment, justice, and truth, is starting to crack under the weight of its own contradictions, because you can't demand accountability from the royal family while ignoring allegations against your billionaire friends. You can't preach about feminism and victims' rights while staying silent when someone in your circle is accused of the very abuse you claim to fight. And you can't drop lifelong allies like Jessica Mulroney over optics while clinging to Tyler Perry because he still has value. Because this isn't leadership, it's image management, and people are waking up to the pattern where silence is strategy, values are props, and real people, friends, family, victims, are treated as expendable. And while their PR machine may still be spinning, the truth is already out there, spreading, exposing the cold machinery behind the warmth they pretend to sell. And in the end, Meghan Markle's loudest statement wasn't made on Oprah, or in a documentary, or in a speech. It's the silence she's kept when it mattered most. And that silence? That's the real headline.